Well, Britt, speaking of catering to Donald Trump, I went on a Democratic laced tirade last night on a video I dropped about what the Democrats are going to have to do and quit playing pussyfoot with Republicans, because them trying to play pussyfoot and be nice and try to do things the right way has gotten us set back in the course of 6 months, probably some 60 years. And part of what I was saying that they've got to do something about, Britt, is this fucking gerrymandered Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen. Britt, this is so appalling. I'm going to play a clip for you, Britt. But America, understand this. The Supreme Court of the United States has just took their supreme mushroom dick and poked America in the butthole. Yeah. Take a listen at what the Supreme Court has just done.
I can't believe I'm actually reporting on this. We have some breaking news. The Supreme Court just gave President Trump the green light to fire tens of thousands of federal workers and to restructure the government as he sees fit. In a 6-3 decision, the court sided with Trump's push to expand presidential power, allowing him to move forward with what he calls Schedule F, a plan to make government employees easier to fire and replace. Trump says this will drain the swamp, but critics warn it could politicize the federal government and undermine critical services like Social Security, Medicare, and even veterans care. It could also mean the end of nonpartisan public service, turning government jobs into loyalty positions dependent on politics. The ruling hands Trump one of his biggest victories yet in his plan to centralize power in the White House. And the consequences, oh my God, the consequences could affect every single American who relies on federal service. I'm going to do a YouTube deep dive on this because there's so much here that needs to be talked about. So make sure you follow.
Britt. Let me expand on that a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. He said the operative word, loyalty. Trump wants your ass to be loyal to him, number one. Then he wants you to be racist, number two. Then he wants you to be a criminal, number three. And then he predominantly wants you to be a man, number four. That's Donald Trump. And once he appoints people in these positions that have normally been bipartisan, or if they are partisan, they are forced to be nonpartisan when working with the population. He wants people in there that's going to fuck you over if you're in a blue state, blue region, blue county. All those people he fired, they was in a lawsuit to be rehired and to be compensated for the time they got fired. Well, the Supreme Court just whacked that down. Talk about tearing up a contract. And before I give it to you, Britt, I'm going to say this. One of the things I said Democrats have got to do, and I know you take opposition to this, so I'm not speaking for Britt, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking for me. I have said that when Democrats get power back, because we are dealing with a rogue, corrupted Supreme Court, all this 6-3 bull job is corruption. I said the president, that's a Democrat, is going to have to sign an executive order to expand the court and then put in the amount of Democrats to supersede the Republicans, and then let them wait to go through the lawsuit process, and hopefully he can run the clock out like Trump has done with all his damn lawsuits. That's number one. Then number two, that same Democratic president is going to have to sign something to make an outside body that can be nonpartisan. It can be comprised of the equal amount of Republicans, equal amount of Democrats, to just be specifically in place to monitor the actions of the executive branch, and when they step out, be able to do something about it. Floor is yours, Britt.
I don't really have a problem with anything that you said. I'm not really in opposition to that at all, because the time to play nice is very well over. Let me just say a couple things about when he wants to do things that are going to fuck with the blue states. The red state voters always end up being collateral damage. They never quite figure this out, but they always are the ones that the Republican Party, I've always felt like the Democrats should say some version of this every day, at least one time, to cameras and microphones. The Republican Party never misses an opportunity to kick the shit out of working people.
Never.
Some version of that, and then have the Republicans clutch their pearls and go, I can't believe the language. Oh my goodness, the language. But the fact is the fact. They never miss, and the truth is, really, they never miss a chance to kick the shit out of poor people.
Never.
That's the actual truth.
Never.
But that's all grouped together anyway. Some version of that does need to be said by the Democratic Party. I think that the Democratic Party right now is taking for granted they're going to win the midterms in 2026. And I don't think they need to do that. I don't think they can do that at all. And I'll tell you, if they're just sitting back there waiting and saying everybody's going to come to us because we're not Donald Trump and y'all got to come home, that ain't going to work. Y'all need a plan. There needs to be a plan. We're going to do X, Y, and Z, just like what you talked about. Court packing was a bad word. The Supreme Court has given the green light now to the executive branch. We're going to start doing some shit when we get back in. And when we are in the House and we are in the Senate, we're going to start doing some shit. They need to put plans forth to the American people. This is what we're going to do. Now, you can say it needs to be completely economic. It needs to be, they need to restore Medicaid. They need to restore and do away with some of the shit that was in the big, beautiful bill. Absolutely, 100%. But you cannot take for granted that the Democratic Party is going to be back in charge of the legislative branch of this country in the midterms in 2026. You just can't say, we're here, look at us, and aren't we pretty? That's not going to work, guys. The American people need something from you guys, because there's been very little backbone shown by the Democratic Party, even by hardcore Democrats. And I've been one since the 80s, ladies and gentlemen. I've been a Democrat since I voted for Mike Dukakis. That's how far I go back. I went to UNCG, and the first day of school that I remember was August the 20th of 1988. And I remember the fall of 1988, I wanted to go to our student union center, and I wanted to see this guy who would run for president, because I'd never seen anybody who would run for president. And that guy was Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. And I too have thought, this party ain't showing enough backbone. We're not doing enough. I'll give you an example of something that happened where they kind of half-ass showed some backbone, but then they kind of folded. When Cory Booker made that amazing speech that he gave on the Senate floor, I love Cory Booker, have for a long time. That guy has got it going on. When he speaks to people. He knows how to get shit done. When he was mayor of Newark, tremendous asset for the Democratic Party. He's been great for the people of New Jersey. Gave his very impassioned Senate floor speech, went on for the longest time. Immediately, when he finishes up, they gavel it down. The Democrats get around, congratulate him, pat him on the back. And the Trump nominee that they brought before the Senate passed with flying colors. That happened. So it makes you wonder what it's all about. I loved Hakeem Jeffries. I think Hakeem Jeffries is going to make a tremendous Speaker of the House. I thought his speech before the big, beautiful bill got passed, it accomplished a couple of things. First of all, it made them vote on that shit in the light of day. They weren't able to do it at 5:30 in the morning. They were able to do it at 11:30 or noon so that everybody could see it. Everybody could see those people celebrating as they kicked the shit out of America's working people. And that was something great that he did. But you're right, the Democratic Party, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to have to do some court packing. We're going to have to do some other stuff that's not going to look so nice. But the Supreme Court, and there were some conservatives, to be fair, who warned about this, when the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump and the executive branch, because he ain't going to live forever and he's not going to be in that office forever. When they gave him nearly unlimited powers, they didn't know what they were doing, because there will be a Democrat in that office at some point. There will be a Democrat that sits in that office. A hard rain is going to fall, Bob Dylan, and that person is going to have some serious power. Now, will there be some judiciousness in that? Of course. We can't just be another version of them. But what you're talking about with putting some more seats on the Supreme Court, absolutely. And watch them go nuts about it. Watch them go ape shit about that. That to me is just a given right now.
Britt, literally, it doesn't matter what Democrats do. They're going to go ape shit about it. Absolutely. You let a Democrat use profanity on TV, you would think that these men got blue balls, the way Absolutely. They get on TV and squawk. But Trump, I done heard him on 4 different occasions in the last week get up there and say bad words. They got to bleep out on TV.
That's right.
Nobody bats an eye.
That's
and
right.
when it comes to me saying the Democrats have got to push the levers, I mean push the levers for equality, which benefits everybody. Push the levers for what's best for the overall good of the company and not just the top 10%, ladies and gentlemen. We can't continue to consolidate power at the top 10%, nor can we consolidate power in the government at the executive branch, because you get what we're seeing with LA, the president being able to call troops in against a city and do this fucking entertainment TV intimidation shit. You get that, and then you get the governor of the state that can't do anything about it. We're not at war. This is not a national crisis that's going on. The only reason immigration is an issue, now granted, immigration does have some issues, but a lot of those issues are things that need to be fixed from the legislative branch and not just from one branch of the government. But he's taking one point that Republicans have in their heart, which is hate. And they've taken that hate and have decided that that hate that they have in their heart supersedes their wallet, their health care, their family care, and the long-term well-being of this country, because they keep voting for something that feels good to them, which is hating someone else. And Britt talks about how we've got to get the Dems to put out a message. Well, you're damn right, because I do feel like nobody but a handful of Democrats are showing backbone, Britt, just a handful.
That's right.
And then Trump and his people had Project 2025. We have nothing. As a matter of fact, Britt, I'm making a playlist called Project Black 2026. And the first 2 components of Project Black 2026, expand that court and then make some kind of outside body that can regulate the executive branch. And then I've got another program for the financial needs of people, because, and I'll take us to the next thing after this, Britt. The third ring in my Project Black 2026, why is it that middle-class America and poor America, especially middle-class America, Britt, that consists of the majority of mom and pop businesses, why are they okay with Amazon and billion-dollar corporations socializing the government's money, but think that they shouldn't get some of that socialized money?
Well, they've been conditioned by the big Republican lie. There's a lot of big Republican lies that they've been conditioned to. Like they've been told that if you vote like a Republican, you support that party, at some point you'll be rich like they are. That's what they've been told, and a number of people have done. There's so many lies. By the way, when Project Black 2026 happens, no UFC on the lawn at the White House. We're gonna have a cookout, and I'd love to be invited. So, but seriously. Am I invited?
Trust me. Oh, hell, man, you've been had your invite to the cookout, brother. You've been had it.